Mixtape is one of the strangest games you'll play this year. Teenagers leap through fields like superheroes, with flowers blooming under the main character's feet every time she lands. Cars rise into the night sky while fireworks explode around them, and Stacey Rockford conducts the whole display from the sunroof. But the strangeness has a purpose. Underneath all that magic is a simple story. 3 friends, one last day together, and the feeling that youth is about to become a distant memory. Mixtape takes nostalgia and turns it into a movie you can play. So why does this game feel so different? You can see it right from the start. Mixtape presents itself differently from most games. The opening has credits, not a tutorial, not a loading screen, not a cutscene explaining the world. Credits. The 3 friends are introduced almost like film characters. Stacey Rockford, Cassandra Marino, and Van Slater. It's telling you immediately that Mixtape is going to feel more like a movie you play than a normal game. The developers have spoken about John Hughes as an inspiration. That's the filmmaker behind The Breakfast Club and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Films about teenagers on the edge of change, where ordinary days become the ones they'll remember for the rest of their lives. You can feel their influence all through Mixtape, even though the game pushes it somewhere stranger and more magical than those films ever went. Many of the major scenes are framed around a song from Stacey's playlist. Mostly, she introduces each track directly to camera, explains why she chose it, and then you get to play through the scene with the song setting the mood.
Super aneurysm and explode and die. I feel nothing but rage. This is Love by the Smashing Pumpkins.
So the game does not play out like a normal sequence of levels. It feels like a playlist of Stacey's memories. And the set pieces work in the same way. Escaping from the cops with your friend in a shopping trolley, toilet rolling a teacher's house in the middle of the night, and the 3 friends breaking into a dinosaur display in the woods, which somehow becomes a beautiful moment where the 3 of them are riding a dinosaur across an open desert. These are not typical gameplay set pieces. They play out like movie scenes, staged, framed, and scored like moments from a coming-of-age film that you somehow get to play. That is what makes Mixtape feel different. It borrows the language of cinema, opening credits, music-driven scenes, stylized framing, and magical set pieces. Is there a song that takes you back to a specific time in your life? I'd love to know what it is, so please let me know down below. And if you're enjoying this video, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thank you very much. If Mixtape feels like a movie you play, what does the play part actually look like? Mixtape's gameplay is simple, but that simplicity is part of the point. The skateboarding is the most traditionally game-like element, but none of the gameplay in this game is really about mastery, and most of the game works like that. There's just enough interactions to keep you involved, but rarely enough to interrupt the mood. That won't satisfy everyone, and I understand that. But Mixtape does not use gameplay to make you prove yourself. It uses gameplay to keep you connected to the moment. And for this kind of experience, that's exactly what it needs to be. And once you realise the gameplay is there to keep you inside the scene, the visual storytelling starts to make more sense too. Mixtape keeps taking familiar teenage moments and making them beautiful and impossible. But somehow it always feels right, because the game is not always trying to show these moments as they would happen in real life. It's trying to show you how big they feel to the characters. This is why cars rise into the sky and Stacey conducts a firework display with one hand. Why fields burst into flowers every time she lands. Why a night out with friends can suddenly look like the most important night in the world. The game keeps doing this. It takes something small, a run through a town, a car ride, a night out, and shows it the way Van, Cassandra, and Stacey will probably remember it. Bigger than it was, more vivid, more important. And honestly, that works for us too. A realistic car ride would just be a car ride. A walk in the fields would just be a walk in the fields. This way, it becomes something worth playing. It's not subtle, but it works, because being young is rarely subtle when you are the one living it. everything feels like it matters more than anyone else could possibly understand, because that is what it feels like when you're young. And that is where Mixtape's visual storytelling really works. It does not just tell you these moments matter, it makes them look like they matter. And a lot of that feeling comes from the music. Unfortunately, we can't listen to Stacey's playlist in this video because of copyright, but it's worth understanding why the music matters so much. The game was built around Stacey's playlist. The playlist came first, and the scenes were constructed around it. So the music is there not just to set the mood, it gives each scene a reason to feel the way it does. Because for Stacey, the right song at the right moment is everything. Like a lot of us, she genuinely believes music can make ordinary moments feel extraordinary. But the songs only hit as hard as they do because of the story underneath them. Underneath all the flying cars and impossible jumps, Mixtape is telling a beautifully simple story, and that is why the magic works. Stacey Rockford wants to leave her small California town and move to New York to become a music supervisor. She's booked a flight for the morning. This is her last day with Cassandra Marino and Van Slater before everything changes. And because you play through these memories rather than simply watch them, the goodbye feels like it belongs to you too. You're not just observing Stacey's last day, you're moving through it with her. This is the emotional shape of the game. One day, 3 friends, and a bond between them that you get to experience rather than simply observe, which makes it matter all the more that they are about to go their separate ways. But that's exactly why the surreal parts matter. The magic only works because you care about what's underneath it. Flying cars mean something different when you know the people inside them are running out of time together. Mixtape is not trying to convince you that everybody's teenage years look like this. Of course they didn't. But most people understand what it feels like when a group starts to drift, when something that felt permanent suddenly has an end date. That is what the game is really about. So why does Mixtape work? Not because it carefully creates being young. Most of us did not spend our teenage years flying through the sky in cars, but because it understands what nostalgia does to being young. It edits, it brightens, it makes certain days feel more important than they probably were. It turns a handful of moments into something that feels like a story worth telling. And Mixtape takes that process and makes it playable. Nobody is saving the world, but the game lets you do things that actually make up a teenage life. The small, stupid, joyful things that you remember long after the supposedly important stuff has faded. And the fact that Mixtape is only 3 hours long matters. It feels like one last day, remembered in fragments. A handful of scenes, a rush of colour, a few songs, a few stupid ideas, and then it's gone. And because it's gone so quickly, it lingers. That is the trick. Not just that it makes those moments look special, but it lets you live them for a little while. For 3 hours, Mixtape lets you live inside that memory. And when it ends, it stays with you, just like a good film does. If you like this kind of breakdown, now check out this video on the game Limbo, which I will link up above right now. Until we meet again, go forth and play.